Welcome to Bougie and Boring, the spa business podcast that proves success doesn't have to be stressful. My name is Amanda Louisa. I'm a spa owner and a coach, and around here, bougie means high-end and well-paid. Boring means drama-free and simple. Together, that's how you build a spa that's smooth, profitable, and actually fun to run. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get right to it. Hello, spa owner, and welcome back to Bougie and Boring. Today, we're going to talk about something that might be a little bit vulnerable, so I hope you're ready. I want to talk about resentment, and this is not something that I have really talked a whole lot about here on the podcast because I think that this is a very public space, right? And I just want to make sure that I'm respecting everybody's feelings and, or maybe not respecting their feelings, but just like everybody's privacy, which I'm pretty good at. But this is just a really vulnerable episode because I know that it's going to be helpful, but it's also kind of like letting you into how things used to be for me. And I'm so thankful that I'm out of this now and I don't feel this way, but I do want to talk about it because I hear it really often for a lot of my clients. So specifically, I want to talk about the resentment that spa owners feel towards their business. And nobody really talks about it, but I just want to kind of describe it to see if this might sound familiar. And if it doesn't, then just breeze past this episode and I will see you next week. But if you are, watching your team clock out, and, she grabs her bag, she heads out to go pick up her kids. She's done, right? Her day is over. She's made her money and now she's going home, but you're still there. And you've got 2 more clients and you have a supply order that you still need to place and an email from a vendor that you're dreading, like responding to. You also know that payroll is coming up in a couple days, right? So you're going to be there until 8:30, or in my case, 9 p.m. some nights. You'll go home, you'll be tired, you'll eat whatever is fast and fall asleep scrolling on your phone. And the part that nobody talks about is that you have to get up the next day and basically do it all over again. But you don't really want to, right? You're so tired of building something that other people get to reap the benefit of, but then you don't, right? You took all of this risk, and for what? So that you could train someone else and somehow she gets to go home and you're still there, and she gets to enjoy her family and you're still there. She gets to make more than you do. And if that is happening, holy moly, I have felt that, and this episode is for you. So one thing I want to point out is that resentment is not a character flaw. I think there is like this big misconception that when you feel resentment, it's like, oh, there's something wrong with me for feeling that way. But I say, nay. I want to say this: being resentful, one, does not make you a bad person or a bad boss, but it does mean that this is information that your brain and your body is telling you. So you need to, your ears need to perk up. You need to listen. It does not mean that you should go back to being a solo. It doesn't mean that you made a mistake for hiring a team. This is just data, right? It's a data point. Your nervous system is telling you that something in the structure of your business is not working anymore. Specifically, that you're not getting a return on the investment that you made when you hired someone, right? Think about it this way. You buy a machine, right? You buy a machine and you pay it off, and essentially all you have to then pay for is the supplies used for it. And it should be, you put $1 in and there should be at least $4 coming back out from that, right? This is not a personal failing. This is a business problem, a finance problem. In fact, it could be a lot of things. It is a business problem, but I think right now, in the purpose of this episode, this is a problem with your boundaries, and it's a mistake when we suppress this feeling instead of investigating it. Something that I am always talking to my friend Brittany Hageman, who is another incredible spa coach. She coaches solo estheticians. So if you're a solo who wants to stay solo, she is totally your gal. But I talk to her often about shame spiraling, and how when her and I first met, she's like, you are one of the first people I met that does not shame spiral. And I'm like, first of all, who told you I don't do that? And secondly, what is the point? What is the point of feeling shame and guilt and all these things when we could just get curious? And when someone's like pointing something out to me, like, oh, you really shouldn't have done that, I'll perk up, and I'm like, oh, really? Well, what should I do instead? Oh, I'm all ears. Tell me more. What do you mean? I want more. So this is a challenge, or it's a gentle push that I usually give to my clients whenever I start to see them start to kind of like shame spiral. I will tell them, no, this is not meant to be like, shame on you. You made a mistake. No, this is, oh my gosh, look at this awesome opportunity. So when you feel that resentment, I want you to feel that feeling in your body and be like, OMG, thank you, nervous system. Thank you so much for pointing that out to me. I cannot wait to investigate this more. And I used to feel guilty for resenting some people or my business. And I used to tell myself that I should be grateful that my spa is growing, and I just pushed the feeling away, and I just kept grinding and I ignored it. And that totally was a mistake. I should not have done that whatsoever. I should not have done that because it did end up exploding one day. Not on my team, thank goodness, but like it was something that just does not go away, right? And it turned into dreading going to work. It turned into anxiety, into, snapping at the people that I love around me and thinking maybe I should just like close my doors and be a solo and just go work for someone else, right? Which I cannot do. I cannot do that. So I have talked to so many spa owners who are like essentially one bad week from walking away from this beautiful thing that they've created. I can't tell you how often I hear a spa owner tell me that they're like, I'm just giving myself this 1 year. I'm giving myself this year. And if I don't figure it out this year, I'm just going to close my doors. I literally hear that so frequently. And it's really interesting to me because once we dig into what that is, I find that it's really just them not upholding the promises that they've kept with themselves, right? So what you say you're going to pay yourself, you should actually pay yourself that much. And if you say you want to leave by 2, you need to actually leave by 2 and not have any guilt about it. So a big thing that I help people with that I hope can help you today is this compensation that is not working for you, if that's the case. And, feeling the resentment is typically because the employee, the esthetician, is getting paid more than you are, which is another very common thing that I see and I would like to address. And so it incites resentment. And so what we need to do now is figure out where all the numbers are going and make them make sense. So there is this story, right, that resentment is kind of telling us when you feel resentful or watching your team go home while you stay late. The story underneath that feeling is usually one of two things, right? The first is,
I'm working more than anyone and being paid less than everyone. And that's a math problem, right? Your business is not structured to pay you what your contribution to the business is. And then the other thing is that, you think, oh, I hired this team and I thought it would give me freedom. And instead, it gave me even more responsibility with no financial reward. And now it's more of a financial burden because payroll is coming up and I need to make sure that there's enough money in the bank account and all these things. And it's an expectation problem, not because your expectation is not right, but because nobody taught you how to build the profit structure that makes having a team actually feel like it's worth it. So both of these are very solvable, but you have to be willing to name the problem clearly before you can fix it. And that's what I help you do. So if you're feeling resentful, I'm not going to tell you to journal about it, although that might help, or like do some breathing exercises, because I don't think that that's going to like work all the way. But I am going to tell you to look at your numbers, right? Because we make decisions off of facts and not feelings. And resentment is almost always like a financial issue, is what I've come to realize. And the way that you start pulling at the roots of that is by getting clear on exactly what your business needs to produce for you to get paid what you deserve. Last week we talked about knowing what that number is that you want to get paid. And this week I want to talk to you a little bit about identifying resentment in your body, making sure that you are not just allowing it to fester and turn into this like really terrible thing that eventually makes your business implode, because it doesn't need to. But we do have to work on like getting boundaries in place and holding people accountable. That is honestly the main thing. So when you have the benchmarks for your team, then you can take a look at their numbers every single month and see, okay, are they hitting their benchmarks? And just like anything else in your business, if you pay your team, if you pay an employee any dollar amount, then you should be getting at least 4 times that amount back. This goes for everything in your business, right? So you want to make sure that in order to pay yourself, you need to be bringing in the kind of money that allows you to pay yourself. So that has to do with how much you're paying yourself, or how much your average dollar per hour is. This is all stuff that is in the Pay Yourself More calculator. So if that is something that you're interested in and something that you know that you need to kind of get a better handle on, so that you can, easily see where the money is basically going out of your business and not going back to you, you can put all of your data into, and it's really easy. You only need to know 4 numbers, and one of those numbers is how much you want to pay yourself every month. The other one is the average cost of service per hour. And so if your team is, booked to that capacity that you need to get at, and your service per hour is priced appropriately, then you should be paying yourself the number that you want to be paying yourself. And if you feel like this is not really where your resentment is coming from, then I would love to invite you to talk about it with a loved one. You can, I don't know if you know this, but if you leave an iTunes review, I will answer the question here on a podcast episode, and I will help you in any way. It's like just as like a thank you for doing that. I'll be able to help you in this way. And so if resentment is not financial, you're paying yourself what you want to, you're leaving when you want to, I think there are some other areas we could definitely explore. But this is the number one place that I see the issue to be with spa owners, is like the financial aspect of, my team is making more than I am, or even worse, not that they're making more than you are, but you're just literally not taking anything home, which is not a business. That's just a hobby, a very, very, very expensive hobby at that point. So I know that resentment fades once spa owners start getting paid fairly and the whole energy of the business shifts, right? You feel excited to go into work. You stop feeling like you're running a charity and everyone else's paychecks are what you're trying to supply. You start feeling like you actually built something that works for you, and that's what you started doing this for. That is still available to you. But you have to do the work of looking at your numbers honestly and seeing where you need to make that improvement. So go ahead and grab the Pay Yourself More calculator. And if this episode hit close to home, then please share it with another spa owner friend that needs to hear it. And I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If this episode gave you something to think about, please take a minute to leave a review and share with a spa owner friend. If you're ready for more support like this, I have left the link to my free 30-minute discovery call in the show notes below. I would love to learn more about you and your spa and what it is you are trying to accomplish right now in this season of life. Until next week, peace and love, my friend. I'll talk to you later.